Welcome to Connecticut Tax Records 101. So we talk often about using tax records in genealogy, but there's very little material available about Connecticut. This is an intro. Why are tax records used in genealogy? There are a few reasons. Tax records can provide a rough idea of an ancestor's age because they needed to be old enough to hold taxable assets. You were not going to be 15 and buying cattle. And more importantly for Connecticut research, tax records can be used to document an ancestor's residence. There are a few issues you do need to be aware of. First, due to the principle of couverture, most tax records will only list males. When a woman married, her taxable property became part of her husband's. And in Connecticut, tax payment was not restricted by race. You will find families of color on the tax records in the late 1700s. How far back do tax records go? At this point, there is not a full survey of Connecticut tax records available. Personally, the earliest I've seen dated to the period of the American Revolution, so 1770s and 1780s. Retention of tax records was somewhat inconsistent. Some towns start in the Revolutionary War period, some towns start in the 18 teens. Check each town to be sure. Are these records stored as a single list? Short answer, no. Keeping tax lists as a single list was common in the American South. It was not common in Connecticut. Connecticut keeps two sets of records. It still does this today. The first is a list of who owes taxes. That list is called a grand list. Today, it lists out the specific assets being taxed and also their value. In the late 17 and early 1800s, it may have been an either or. There is a separate set of records indicating who paid taxes. The grand list was more likely to be maintained than the records of payment. In the earlier period, look for records of payment mixed into the Connecticut town meeting records. Where are tax records held? Today, the list of who owes taxes, also called the grand list, is held by the town tax assessor, while the records of who paid taxes are held by the tax collector. Historically, the grand lists were held by the town clerk and should still be in their files. The list of who paid taxes may or may not have been retained. Some tax records have been transferred to the Connecticut State Archives, which is part of the Connecticut State Library. If you can't find tax records locally, you do want to check there.